For me, as a representative from civil society, from Oxfam, it gives me the opportunity to tell the truth to governments and to business about what they need to do right for children living in poverty. As I was telling them today, for example, on the issue of taxation, that developing countries won't be able to do much to improve the rights of children, to give them health and education, unless they can tax companies at source where they do their business, and unless companies stop dodging on taxes and stop pushing governments to lower and lower their taxes to race to the bottom. So I'm able to talk truth to power at such a forum. The response I got to this call on fair taxation was amazing, because across the whole, at lunch, in the working group, I had people from companies, people from NGOs, and people from philanthropy, all saying to me, congratulating me for having raised the difficult issue of tax, agreeing with me that corporate social responsibility is good, but won't solve the problems of children's rights unless companies actually do pay their fair share of taxes, and that it goes to governments, and that governments then allocate it for children's rights. So they agreed with me. How the Sustainable Development Goals can advance children's rights. Of course, the SDGs have a goal on children's rights, but all the other goals also have an important impact on children's rights. To me, the big issues are two here. One is the political will of governments to take these goals and prioritize them in their policies and budgets. And the second one is that the ambition of the goals is not matched by the resources to finance the goals. So the question of resourcing, I'm trying to push for it through a tax reform that will increase the resources that governments have to pay for the SDGs. But the political will, that will be the responsibility of us citizens organizing, pushing our governments on, and encouraging them to do right for people living in poverty, for children living in poverty. To push companies, such as the ones who are here, to also do right, to look at what they do in their supply chain and make sure that they are doing justice to workers, paying them the right wages, fair wages, good living conditions, working conditions, that they are paying their fair share of taxes, that they are sourcing their raw material in an environmentally friendly way and with good impacts, positive impacts on smallholder farmers. If we can get companies to look at their supply chains and do justice to people in poverty, then children's rights will be protected. From my heart, I feel excited about the Sustainable Development Goals, but cautious because I see that we don't yet have a framework for monitoring, tracking, and evaluating the impact of companies on the lives of children and people living in poverty. We don't yet have. So until we put that in place, we don't really know, we won't be able to know whether these companies that are now going to take money from taxpayers to bring their own money in, whether these companies are really doing good for children. So we have some work to do to develop the tools and the measurements to know their impact. But otherwise, I'm optimistic. The goals are a good framework that brings us all together.